Bright suns and rising moons, fellow droids. Welcome back to Not the Droids podcast. I'm Mayuri.
And I'm Danny, and today we are back from
We're
our
back.
voyage to Aten and the skeleton crew. So,
And yes, it was nice to be back again. Like I said, we were talking earlier, and I was like, it's kind of like nice to change pace because Skeleton Crew, it's like it's intense. There's a lot going on, and you're really like your anxiety is high. And so watching the shorts was like, oh hey, I remember what this was like.
did you also have that moment where you're watching the shorts and you're like, huh, Nash is like Fern,
Yeah.
listen, KB, Nubs and Neil, and Wim and Kai.
Yes, I did. I was just like, oh, it's the same kids, but
And
a,
then
a
SM and
different
RJ.
formula.
I'm like,
Yeah,
it's our crew just
different.
toddlerized.
Yeah,
Yeah.
toddlerized.
And not Jedi. Like,
Oh, not Jedi, but it is really funny. It's like that formula of like the different personality types you need to
yes.
round out an ensemble.
Yes.
Um, And so it was very nice. And I had to like take a minute to like I actually like re-listened to like clips, like the clips on you on Instagram of our last few episodes
Yeah.
for not the droids when we were doing Young Jedi because I was just like, what happened? I feel like Skeleton Crew was such a like a intense thing that I was
Yes.
like, it's been
Well, and it's also
forever.
like because it is a new series, like completely new, we didn't know what to expect. It was all new characters. It wasn't like this side thing where like we're gonna recognize half these people. So now we are back. We're on season 2 of the Young
Uh,
Jedi Adventures. And these are the
and
shorts.
yes, so there were six shorts.
About six
Um,
minutes each.
Yes, the names of the shorts were Firehawk Rescue, Skyring Soaring, A Droid's Mission, which when I typed that out, I got really excited. Younglings in the Wild, Junkyard Joust, and Nubstacle Course. So I was actually based off of the titles, I was actually really excited for this set of episodes. When did they air?
August 2nd of 2024. So these
Oh,
shorts aired, and then 2 weeks later is when the series started. So
yeah.
these aired before season 2.
Nice. And I feel like you can tell because like they were in one of the shorts they so obviously when you go into Disney Plus you see the visuals and we have speculated we're like who's that guy? And in one of the shorts we got an introduction to the new I don't know if they called him a Padawan.
They called him a Padawan.
Yeah, to the new Padawan um that Wes Fennec, I think his name was. So I was like, "Oh, hey. Hey, new guy." Um, but yeah, it was kind of nice to go through like a lot of lessons, but like I don't know. It was nice that it was short. I feel
Yes.
like with Young Jedi, like we've kind of chatted offline about this that like the season 2 only has 11 episodes and it's like I wonder if it's because like it just wasn't reading well with their intended audience because I don't know. Having spent, I just over the holidays, before we record, like before we came back and recorded this, I was with my nephews, 3 and 7, and
Hmm.
I would have assumed the 3-year-old would be interested in this kind of show. He's obsessed with Blaze and PJ Masks and these sorts of like adventure children series.
Yeah.
But neither him or the 7-year-old can get through an episode of Young Jedi. And I don't know if it's just too slow paced or it's just not,
And it might just not be, it just might not be for them.
yeah, it's not for them,
So,
maybe.
and because I don't necessarily think that the reason for because they released them almost, they almost released the second part of season 1 as like a second season. It was just still labeled season 1.
So maybe they're just meant to be shorter seasons.
Yeah, and that happens sometimes is where they have a really long first season thinking it's going to be a one-off, one and done, And then they're like, "Oh no, this is actually," and like we haven't had any announcements for another season, but like the last season just came out in August, so there's still
Oh yeah, so
time.
it's still pretty new.
And there's the possibility right now there's only 11 episodes. They might do a second drop
Oh, that's
like they did
true.
with the first one because that happened around May.
Oh yeah, so do you think that maybe they might just do another
So
drop
we
of
might get a
episodes?
part two, season two drop
Yeah.
sometime this year because that's what happened with the last one. Because I remember we had all those dates, they kicked it off around May the 4th.
Yeah. I mean, I liked the shorter form. I think these work really well as shorts.
Hmm.
You don't get a lot of like character development, but you get like,
It's almost like a reintroduction to some of our characters and an introduction to some new characters. So it's like we've upgraded the ship.
yes, I loved
We
it.
have a Padawan. We have a new droid. We have some new friends. Kai's
And
still making assumptions about Tabor.
I know, I was just like, oh, hey. At the end of that, I was like, ooh, he used real money to buy things.
Can we also discuss a certain phrase that was used in this series?
So, wizard!
We've
Is
seen
that,
it a few times in Skeleton Crew. We've seen it
yeah.
here. We've seen it in Phantom Menace, but technically we have not because we're not there yet. But so Wizard has some history to it. But we
I
keep
was
seeing it
so
coming up.
excited. We didn't see it in season one at all.
No.
I feel like we didn't hear it. And I think watching Skeleton Crew made me so
More
aware
aware of it.
of it because I wasn't like, and so when Kai said wizard, I was like, oh my God, that phrase has been around so
Yeah, well,
long.
it's meant it's used in Phantom Menace. It's used during like High Republic times. Like it's got some history to it, and I know like a lot of people were excited when it came up in Skeleton Crew. And because this season like released in August, I wonder if they knew they were going to be putting it in Skeleton Crew and be like,
And
let's.
they like slipped it in there to be like, oh, hey, let's
They're
kind
like,
of,
this is like, yeah, like as a little nod, like, hey, we hear you.
yeah. I I wanted in the first short about the Firehawk, it's really cool. Like that's a great way to introduce like an upgraded Firehawk
Yes.
that it's like much more maneuverable. I do love that we started with Salak and she has a new ship as well called the
Here is not always better.
No, that was the lesson, right? Bigger is not always better. But I love that it's called like Raptar's Revenge.
Mm-hmm.
And all I could think about
There's
was
Reptar.
yes. All I could think about was like Rugrats.
Yeah. Well, and then there's this scene where they're going, we're now in Rapture, and we're in Salak's like point, and she's standing on the little rectangle thing, and you're kind of below, and it's exactly like the point of view where you see Vader in Rise of the Resistance at Galaxy's Edge. Because it
Oh,
like pull because it as soon as it came up, I'm like, oh, it's like that part where you park in and you're like listening in on the conversation.
and that's how you're filming it. Oh, that's so funny. Um, no.
Nash has skills.
Nash is such a pilot. Well, but that's why it's like they stopped to help someone, right?
Yeah.
What was her name? Vela? Vela?
Bella.
Who looked like an adult in her ship. And I like that Nash was like, we will head them off and distract them. And you get away. You adults get away because my ship is better.
But well, it's not even just that my ship is better. It's the Jedi are here to help you. We were just here to help you fix your ship. You are not trained to do this. You are like an industrial worker. Like your job is not to protect people. Like,
Yeah, so your job is to just get out of
and my ship
here.
is going to move a lot faster than yours.
Yeah, no. And then it's like it was so cute when it was just so small and it was just like,
Yeah.
no, I loved that. I mean, honestly, the lessons in all of these were really cutely done.
Hmm.
Because we got with this one, we got bigger isn't always better. The introduction of the new Padawan was teaching Kai that you don't have to be perfect. You finish no matter what. You're not perfect, but still amazing.
Yes.
And the droid episode,
Working together, teamwork.
working together.
Our
You
new
can do
droid
it.
friend Romy.
so here's the thing, they called the droid Romy when it was definitely listed as RO, like R0M1,
Hmm.
like in terms of the name. And so that's where I'm just like, are there, I think Ari is maybe the other droid that we call by a name instead of just the initials and letters, right?
I think so, yeah.
So that's where I was just like, I wonder if it's like certain people shorten it to names versus, but I did like the use of Romy instead of, because
I
I
think
feel
it
like
just
it's
like
more of a
happens like because you
mouthful.
kind of see names and you automatically do a nickname, so they just kind of
Yeah.
end up that way.
Uh,
Um, the Tabor episode.
ah,
We spent essentially an entire season teaching Tabor that he can choose a different path.
and then the second we see Tabor, after finding out his true identity, by the way,
Finding out his true identity, Kai seeing that he couldn't choose a different path, like telling him he can choose a different path, and as
just that.
immediately next time he sees him, he's like, "You didn't choose a different path because you're a pirate, so you're stealing."
And he's trying to explain, he's like, I'm not stealing. Like,
Yeah, like because usually he like Tabor would usually just admit it. He's like, "Yeah, I'm taking this stuff."
yeah, like, why
He's
do I
like,
have to
"No,
admit?
I worked out a deal." Like,
That's why I was just like, I do enjoy that. So you see Kai's lightsaber skills have improved
they
quite a
have
bit,
improved. Tabor is still
but
better,
Tabor is still
and he
better.
has a new toy
Well, not like new, like he's modified his
modified.
existing
Yes.
staff. So you get
Um,
like the dual staff.
and I want to remind you that even pirates can do the right thing. Jod, we're looking at you next week.
I know, I'm hoping. I'm like,
We're
guys,
hoping. So we're recording this with one episode of Skeleton Crew left. So
yeah, so I'm
this might not age
hoping.
well.
No, I know. I'm scared for next week with
Um,
Skeleton Crew.
Romy and RJ high-fiving was adorable.
Honestly, that whole droid episode was
I
so
love that whole
adorable.
episode.
It
I'll
was,
rewatch that.
it makes me want to watch Wally again.
Yeah.
I love Wally, and I love that it's like silent most of the episode
Yes.
too. Like you just hear the droids talking. They don't translate it, but you know exactly what they're saying to each other.
Yes.
Romy, it's like sibling behavior.
It's younger sibling behavior. Like I don't want him to come.
Yeah, I don't want him to come. I
No,
was watching that and I was actually envisioning an RJ cosplay. I I kind of
cute.
want to do it. I was like, you just do a headpiece, that like obviously you have to see. You could like do it like a visor, and then you just wear like a gray bodysuit with an orange like dress and shoes. And I was like a little RJ, like a cute little easy
I've
peasy one.
I've mentally thought of multiple droid cosplays and I just haven't done them yet and I think it's coming. I have a chopper one that I really think I want to pull out this year.
Yeah. I mean, I'm considering and I was like, I would love I like this idea and I can still make it cutesy, and easy to travel with.
Yes. Easy to travel with this key.
Um and while my chiropractor hates it, I do love a headpiece.
You do. There's one right behind you. I can see it.
I know, my Lego Draco head. No, that was great.
Something that I loved in these shorts. Yoda has finally hung out with another kiddo and given him advice. It's not just the Kai show.
It's not just Kai, like he gave advice to the Nubs episode was adorable. Also, that obstacle course looks a little harder than the one in the beginning, but it's very similar to the one
It
that
is
they've
very
been
simple.
doing the
The
whole
droids
time.
high-fiving there just had me laughing.
They're
They were
like,
just like, got the kid out. I'm like, dude.
but our lesson for that one was the stay calm, you must. Um, but Nubs really put in a poor showing. It was bad. And in front of the master,
It felt a little forced for the character we know of as Nubs.
I know, but I think they were just trying to like,
I know what they were trying to do, and I appreciate the Nubsicle course, but it just felt forced for Nubs we
Well,
know and love.
I
Who
like that
our friend Nubs, who likes to meditate, is
I
struggling.
was staying calm. Um,
Saying, I'm like, it just felt.
so the way it read to me was just kind of like Nubs was excited to prove that he could do it. And Akai went first and did it so well, so that maybe he just like wanted to rush through it and get it done because he was really confident in himself. Because that's what it felt like when he went through the swinging tree trunks the first time. Like he was confident, he went through, he just didn't think he didn't go through far enough
Yeah.
before he started to celebrate.
I'm gonna say like I felt those frustrations because I get very frustrated when I don't do what I want myself to do.
No, you can do. I do like that each of them have their own like highlight episode because like
Yeah.
Liz had her own episode
Mhm.
about animals
The
and
little
it was
bugs. And we met one of our kid friends who we have not seen before, but
one of
Zadi
the
has a
new.
name.
Yeah, only Zadi has a name though. The other two are just younglings, one and
One and
two.
two. Yeah.
I just laughed so hard. I was like, oh, we only have one name now. But I will say compared to the Nubs episode, the Liz episode was very on par with
Yes.
Liz.
Yes.
It was very much like the thing was just
All the other
focused.
episodes fit the characters. Nubs just didn't feel quite, it just felt like a little bit of a stretch to have a Nubs
Yeah.
episode. And like I get they're limited with the language issue, but it still just didn't feel quite.
Yeah, I felt a little
Feel like it could have been
forced.
accomplished in a different way.
Yeah.
And it could have been like one frustration rather than every single piece of a obstacle course.
Yes. I kind of
Like
agree.
trying to learn something new versus this obstacle course we've seen from the beginning where
I
Kai's
like
the one struggling with this obstacle course.
yeah, and like they've done it. And that's where I'm like, I don't know if that's what they were trying to get across. Like just because you've done something a
Yeah.
lot doesn't mean you can't still mess up.
Yeah.
But this episode with Liz, I will say I had to clock the people naming animals because Lido bugs,
Ladlebug.
literally that bugs that light up, that was too on the money for me. I
I
was like,
like
all
it.
these, I don't know, all these other animals. So like we met a sharp tail fellwing, and I was just like, there's so many animals, they all have wacky names, but the light old bugs, they're just
Can
fireflies.
can we put into reference that the show is made for toddlers?
I know. I always have to come back to
Think
that, but
about your
like
audience.
all the other animals have fun names.
They
This was just
do.
uninspired for me.
I get it.
But yeah, no, I really do love this like set of shorts. I am excited to get back into Young
And I
Jedi.
think our Padawan friend Wes is going to be joining us.
Yeah, in lieu of math, I mean, we saw a lot of Master Zia in this, but over communicator,
I don't know if it's in lieu of her, but she introduced him as her Padawan.
Padawan. So yeah,
So I think we're getting someone that can relate a little more to the kids and be someone they look up to versus someone who's in charge.
yeah, no, but I liked it. I like all of them. Which one was your favorite?
The droid one. That's
I know,
me. Why did we even ask that?
I know. But honestly, it was my favorite too. It was adorable.
I love a droid.
I, yes, I loved the droid one. But I also thought it was hilarious at the end of it. It was just like things you would also like, and it was Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. And I was like, oh, cool. Let's just go to that.
Yes. Well,
Uh, yes, we're
we're
back at it.
heading into season two of
There's
the Young
11 episodes.
11
Yeah.
episodes currently of the Young Jedi Adventures. And once we get through those episodes, we will be heading into the Acolyte. Oof. We're getting ready to deep dive into Not a Kid Show.
I know. I'm just like, honestly, I am a little pressed about how deep the acolyte is. And so I'm just like mentally, I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna handle the acolyte compared to because I feel like I haven't seen it at all. I
Yes.
know that you have seen it.
I
But I
have, and I feel like the way that we are going to, and we never really like put this out there, but I think our way of approaching this podcast is really for the new Star Wars fans. If you want the deep lore and the little Easter eggs that are everywhere that are hard to find and all the knowledge, we're not that podcast. We're the podcast for the people that maybe only saw the movies and want to get into the other stuff, or the people that were like rainy day fans, where like they would watch it because it was on, but now want to get into the world because so much is happening in the Star Wars universe. But we're like the intro to Star Wars. It just happens that we're going chronologically versus.
and I do love that because like we're very just like we talk about what happens, how it made us feel, what we think might happen, but like nothing like the no the deep dives are cool to do,
They are, but you
but
have to have the context of
and
everything.
you have
Like,
to know everything to be able to
yes.
do it.
And I mentioned things that relate, like the use of wizard, but we're not going to deep dive into that because we're approaching this like those things haven't been seen by us yet.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
I'll
they haven't.
mention
I
like
don't know.
them loosely, but I'm never going to use them as like a spoiler type situation because the way are approaching this is that we haven't seen any of those things yet until we get to them.
But yeah, so I am happy about that because in actuality, I haven't seen a lot of these things.
So
So yeah, moving forward. I don't know what I was gonna say. I forgot.
moving forward, if you would like to be a guest and go through these shows with us, reach out to us. We can be found on all the things on the threads, the Instagrams, the podcast platforms, the YouTubes. We're not sure if we'll be found on TikTok or not, so.
We'll see if that's still a thing in a couple weeks. Um, and as always, we are not the droids you're looking for.
But we're the droids you're gonna get.